There's a quiet rule between Canada and the US that decides what country a person fleeing danger has to ask for safety in. It's called the Safe Third Country Agreement, but what is it exactly?
It's supposed to limit the ability of asylum seekers to claim asylum in Canada if they pass through the United States.
It meant that if someone reached the Canada-US border, the first country that they came through would be the country that would take on their protection claim, unless they qualified for an exception. So if someone arrives in Canada first, Canada is responsible for hearing that claim. But if they arrive in the US first, then the US is responsible for hearing that claim.
This was in many ways a Canadian-driven agreement, seeking to slow the number of people coming from the United States to Canada.
The agreement came into force in 2004, and it was controversial even then.
One of the reasons why something like the Safe Third Country Agreement may have appealed to policymakers and politicians was because of concerns about the overwhelming of Canada's asylum system. The number of arrivals in Canada is fairly minor compared to that of major refugee accepting states. It really is premised on the idea that refugees can get fair and equal treatment and access to protection in both countries which signed that agreement, which is to say Canada and the United States.
If either countries were to become hostile to refugees, it would defeat the principle of the agreement entirely. That's what some refugee groups are saying is happening right now under Trump.
Canada and the United States have very different refugee determination systems, and we're really seeing the acceleration of this under the Trump administration, but not only. The United States cannot genuinely be considered a safe country for refugees. Their level of protections are much lower. They have many more barriers to becoming a refugee. And so the US and the Canadian system are not really that comparable.
The reason why Canada signed the Refugee Convention was because it recognized the moral imperative to help people in need, to help people fleeing their homes because of state persecution, because of civil war, because of other drivers of displacement. So the flip side to the idea that Canada could be overwhelmed is, well, why aren't we putting more resources into making sure our system works better?